Most investors know markets go down before they go back up. Almost nobody knows about the one time in history where back up took an entire generation. 25 years. Long enough for a child born the day of the crash to graduate college before their parents' portfolio broke even. This isn't a scare story. It's the single most important outlier in stock market history, and understanding exactly why it happened, and why it hasn't happened again since, tells you almost everything you need to know about how to actually protect yourself as a long-term investor. Let's start with the event itself. In 1929, the U.S. stock market crashed dramatically, marking the start of what became known as the Great Depression. The Dow Jones Industrial Average, an index tracking a group of major U.S. companies, lost roughly 89% of its value from its 1929 peak to its eventual bottom in 1932. To put that number in perspective, an investment worth $10,000 at the top would have been worth roughly $1,100 at the very bottom. It then took until 1954, about 25 years later, for the Dow to climb back to its original 1929 high. Here's why most people get this wrong when they compare it to modern crashes. They assume every major downturn behaves like 2008 or 2020, severe but relatively short-lived, with recovery happening within a handful of years. The 1929 crash breaks that pattern completely, and understanding why it broke the pattern is far more useful than simply knowing the scary headline number. Let's get into the financial explanation of what actually made this crash so different. The crash of 1929 wasn't just a market event. It was tangled up with a collapse in the broader economy itself. Unemployment in the United States rose dramatically, reaching roughly 25% at its worst point. Thousands of banks failed, wiping out people's actual savings, not just their investments. There was no deposit insurance at the time protecting everyday bank accounts the way there is today. Industrial production fell sharply. This wasn't simply a market correction, meaning a temporary decline in stock prices. It was a complete unraveling of the financial system alongside the real economy, feeding into each other in a downward spiral that lasted years. This matters enormously for understanding why recovery took so long. A typical market decline happens when investors reassess prices, sometimes sharply, but the underlying economy generally keeps functioning. The Great Depression was different because the economic engine itself, jobs, banks, production, was badly damaged for an extended period, and rebuilding that foundation took far longer than simply waiting for investor sentiment to improve. Here's a real-world comparison that shows just how unusual this period was. During the 2008 financial crisis, the S&P 500, an index tracking 500 of the largest U.S. companies, fell by roughly 50% and recovered fully within about 4 years. During the 2020 pandemic crash, markets fell more than 30% and recovered within about 5 months. Both were severe, frightening declines in the moment. Neither came close to the 25-year recovery timeline of the Great Depression, because neither involved the same kind of prolonged, systemic economic collapse. This is where diversification becomes relevant to this story, though it's important to be honest about diversification's actual limits here. Diversification means spreading your money across many different companies instead of concentrating it in just one. During the 1929 crash, diversification still mattered. An investor holding many companies fared better than someone holding a single failed bank stock or a single bankrupt company, but diversification alone couldn't fully protect investors from a decline this severe and this systemic, because nearly the entire economy was affected simultaneously, not just isolated sectors or individual businesses. Let's talk about a common myth this specific event tends to create, since it's often used to argue against long-term investing entirely. Some people point to the 25-year recovery period as evidence that stocks are simply too risky to trust with long-term savings. This overlooks two important pieces of context. First, this specific event remains historically unique. No other market decline in the past century has come close to that length of recovery, largely because of significant structural changes made afterward, including the creation of deposit insurance, protecting everyday savings accounts, and new financial regulations designed specifically to prevent the kind of unchecked banking collapse that made 1929 so much worse than a typical downturn. Second, and just as important, an investor who continued contributing consistently throughout that 25-year period, rather than investing a single lump sum right at the 1929 peak and then doing nothing else, would have been buying shares throughout the entire decline and the following recovery, often at dramatically lower prices along the way. This connects directly to a strategy called dollar-cost averaging, meaning you invest a fixed amount on a regular schedule, regardless of whether the market is up or down. Someone who invested a single lump sum exactly at the top in 1929 faced that full 25-year wait to break even on that specific contribution. But someone who kept investing steadily throughout the decline was continuously buying shares at increasingly lower prices during the crash itself, meaning their overall average purchase price ended up far below the 1929 peak, which meant their personal break-even point arrived considerably sooner than someone who only invested once. Right at the worst possible moment. Here's the key insight most people miss when they hear about this period. The 25-year number describes what happened to someone who invested everything at exactly the single worst moment in market history and then never invested another dollar again. It does not describe what happened to a diversified, consistent, long-term investor who kept contributing throughout the entire period. Those are two very different outcomes hiding behind the same historical headline. It's also worth understanding what has changed structurally since 1929, because context matters here rather than simply extrapolating the past directly onto the future. Deposit insurance now protects everyday bank savings up to certain limits in ways that didn't exist during the Great Depression. Financial regulations were significantly strengthened to prevent the specific unchecked banking failures that deepened the original crisis. None of this means severe downturns can't happen again, they certainly can and have, but it does mean the specific conditions that created a 25-year recovery were tied to a particular historical moment and a particular set of institutional failures, not simply the stock market behaving in its normal, expected way. So what's the actionable lesson here for a beginner investor today? The first takeaway is understanding your own investing timeline clearly. Money you'll need within the next few years shouldn't be exposed to the same volatility as money you won't touch for decades, precisely because even a normal, more typical downturn can take several years to fully recover from, let alone an extreme historical outlier like 1929. The second takeaway is the power of consistent contributions over a single lump sum decision made at exactly the wrong moment. Dollar cost averaging doesn't just smooth out normal market ups and downs. It specifically protects you from the worst-case scenario of investing everything right before a historic decline, because you continue buying at lower prices throughout any downturn rather than being frozen at one single entry point. The third takeaway is understanding diversification's real role. Diversification, spreading your money across many companies rather than just one, doesn't make you immune to a severe, broad economic collapse. But it does mean your outcome depends on the health of an entire diversified economy recovering over time, rather than depending entirely on one single company's survival, which is a meaningfully different and generally more resilient position to be in. Here's the honest, balanced perspective to close this out. The 1929 crash and its 25-year recovery represent the most extreme outlier in stock market history, not the typical pattern investors should expect. It's a valuable lesson in respecting genuine tail risk, the possibility of extremely rare, severe outcomes, while also understanding that structural changes since then, combined with strategies like consistent contribution and diversification, meaningfully change how a long-term investor today would likely experience even a severe downturn, compared to someone who lived through that specific historical moment with none of those protections in place. So here's your actionable takeaway. Don't let a single historical outlier convince you that investing is too risky to bother with, and don't ignore it either, pretending severe declines can't happen. Instead, build your strategy around the two things that actually would have protected an investor even during the worst downturn in market history: a long-term timeline for money you don't need soon, and consistent contributions rather than a single all-at-once bet at exactly the wrong moment. If you want to learn more about investing, wealth building, and financial freedom, subscribe to Finance Lab and turn on notifications.